안녕하세요. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천하고 있는 동탄 왕코입니다. 지금 일단 오늘 목소리 되게 좋지 않나요? 오늘 쉬는 날입니다. 온전히 쉬었고요, 집에서. 오늘 아침에 퇴근을 해서 밥 먹고 그 다음에 진짜 아무것도 안 하고 바로 잤어요. 바로 자고 충분히 자고 알람 울리기 전에 일어났고요. 그런 다음에 굽네 치킨 한 마리 부셨고요. 지금 좀 쉬다가 이태원 클래스 3, 4회를 재방송으로 몰아서 봤습니다. 아주 훌륭한 하루였어요. 그리고 심지어 여러분이 안 믿으시겠지만 지금 운동하기 이 영상 키기 직전에 한 30분 넘게 스트레칭이랑 팔굽혀펴기 10개 했고요. 그 다음에 저쪽 가서 철봉 10개 했습니다. 웜업을 시켰죠. 스트레칭을 진짜 많이 했어요. 폼롤러로 온몸을 다 조져놨고요. 그래서 오늘은 운동을 좀 빡시게 하려고, 자, 빡시게 한다는 운동이 뭐냐면은 팔굽혀펴기 20개씩 4세트 할 거고요. 그 다음에 스쿼트 이거 들고 나서 20개씩 4세트 할 겁니다. 그리고 나서도 만약에 힘이 남아있고 뭔가 체력이 좀 남아있다 그러면은 윗몸 일으키기를 하겠습니다. 윗몸 일으키기 다 하고 나서 몸이 좀 풀린다 싶으면은 이거 아령이라고 해야 되나요? 이걸 뭐라고 해야 되죠? 이거를 이거 할 거고요. 근데 그렇게 할 수 있을까 모르겠어요. 자, 일단은 팔굽혀펴기 20개 할 건데 제가 손목이 좀 아픈 것 같아가지고 요렇게 했었죠. 팔굽혀펴기를 요거 푸시업 바를 이용해서 하도록 하겠습니다. 20개씩 할 거예요. 아까 10개를 미리 했기 때문에 충분히 몸이 풀렸다고 생각을 합니다. 푸시업 바로 운동을 할 거고요. 자, 역시 운동할 땐 CNN이죠. 자꾸 저기 꺼져요, 이거 스피커가.
Below saw our helicopter flying around. Rose Yerrick's even shot us on her cell phone. We asked her and husband Greg to show us their cabin.
Small mini fridge on the right, desk on the left. Swing around, there's Rose. And you can see there sure isn't much space in here.
It's hard being stuck into a small room, but we are keeping ourselves occupied with all kinds of things, from watching movies and reading books.
Breakfast dropped off at the door each morning. Yesterday, they were allowed out on deck for an hour, masks on, at least 2 meters apart from others. It's all part of the quarantine. Health officials say it's the only way to stop the virus from spreading further. Some on board say it's like being in a cage.
The time I really sense it is when the
20개 했습니다. 20개는 여유 있네요.
door to hand you your food and then the doors close as though somehow it's feeding of the zoo animals.
Matthew Smith says he gets it though and praised the actions of the cruise company and the government. He feels the quarantine will work and is a good idea, even as others on board have said they're scared of catching the disease and have asked to get off.
I think they could avoid that fear if they were a little more rational. But I understand it's a stressful situation for everybody.
Despite some people wanting off, the Japanese government said there is no chance the quarantine will end before February 19th. Tests will continue, anyone diagnosed will be taken off, but if you're not sick, prepare for your room to be disinfected and settle in.
And we're really looking forward to being able to get home.
So as we watch this ship dock in the harbor, it's strange to think that the passengers on board won't be able to get off. They are so to land and yet so far away from being able to be on it.
Now, there were some 420
힘들어.
Americans on board the
큰일
ship,
났습니다.
several of whom have actually publicly called for the U.S. State Department to get involved to allow some of these Americans to come off the ship and serve their quarantine periods on shore. However, the Japanese Defense Ministry said they've talked to officials inside the U.S. government and says the U.S. government is supportive of the regulations the Japanese health officials have put into place in terms of this quarantine process. Therefore, despite some of these requests, Allison, it does look like all the Americans and everybody else will be serving out this quarantine period on board the ship through February 19th. Allison?
And that was Matt Rivers reporting. For all the latest, head on over to CNN.com. That's where you can find out more about millions of people in Wuhan just trying to cope with life under lockdown. Anxiety and boredom are high, but supplies are running low. You'll get all the details at CNN.com in real time. Coming up, we'll be speaking to one of the United States' top infectious disease experts, Dr. Anthony Fauci. He's also a member of President Trump's coronavirus task force. That interview
자,
is
두 번째
coming up
세트 하겠습니다.
in about 20 minutes. We're learning more about what it was like inside a Thailand mall when a soldier went on a shooting rampage there. Authorities say the gunman killed at least 29 people and wounded 58 others during a standoff in a crowded mall. A few hours ago, large crowds held a vigil in the city for the victims. CNN's Christy Lou Stout has more on how the shooting unfolded and the attackers' takedown.
Terrified shoppers run out of the mall as a calm day turned deadly in one of Thailand's largest cities. Nakhon Ratchasima, also known as Karat City, is where a Thai soldier opened fire at Terminal 21 Mall, killing at least 26 people. Hours after the rampage began, images on social media showed people sprinting across the mall as heavily armed Thai police and military evacuated them. John Fielding, an English teacher, was inside the mall during the shooting.
I was just at the mall with a friend. Everything was completely normal. And then all of a sudden, everyone started running, lots of shouting and panicking. And instantly knew something was wrong. Immediate reaction was to kind of duck down and hide. And then everyone was running into the shops and restaurants and barricading the doors. And luckily we were right next to a restaurant, so we went inside and shut the door.
아, 스쿼트 해야 되는데 너무 두렵습니다. 지금 허벅지가 20개밖에 안 했는데 이렇게 땡길 줄이야.
The tragic event unfolded in real time as security forces published images on social media, giving instructions for people trapped in the building to get out. Emergency workers live streamed their rescue efforts as they were taking victims on stretchers out of the building.
We have been trying to bring out whoever we can, and we will gradually save others who are still stuck inside.
Thailand's defense ministry spokesman said the suspect, Army Sergeant Major First Class Jakrapant Thoma, shot and killed his superior, then went around shooting his colleagues. After he escaped from his quarters, he drove to the mall and started shooting civilians. Thailand's prime minister said the rampage was caused by an argument the gunman had with a colleague over a land
진짜 폼롤러로 이거 허벅지 한번 풀어봐요. 와, 대박 진짜. 너무 아파.
The suspected gunman's page, although there was no evidence of violent videos. We are working around the clock to remove violating content related to this attack, the statement said. Our hearts go out to the victims, their families, and the community affected by this tragedy in Thailand. Police tried several times to try to convince the shooter to turn himself in, even bringing in his mother to try to convince him to stand down. Our authorities say they had to confront the gunman in order to save the people being held inside, and the saga ultimately ended when police shot the gunman dead after a 12-hour standoff. Christy Lou Stout, CNN, Hong Kong.
At least 2 U.S. troops and 1 Afghan soldier were killed in a brazen attack in eastern Afghanistan. A U.S. military spokesman says it appears someone wearing an Afghan uniform opened fire with a machine gun on a joint operation south of Kabul. It's the latest action against security forces in the country after a record number of attacks last year. Journalist Jennifer Glass is live for us in Kabul, Afghanistan, and she joins me now with the latest. Jennifer, you know, this attack coming as President Trump is considering drawing down U.S. troops in Afghanistan.
That's right, Allison. Well, we know that the commander here has told the White House that he can do the job that he needs with about 4,000 fewer troops than he has right now. There are about 13,000 U.S. troops in Afghanistan at the moment. Commander Scott Miller, General Scott Miller, says that he could do the counterterrorism and the train, advise, and assist job that the troops are currently doing with about 8,600 U.S. forces. But that announcement hasn't been made yet. And of course, this all comes as the United States has been negotiating for more than a year now with the Taliban on a withdrawal agreement. So it's not clear how that will factor into this as well. But as you said,
와, 2세트밖에 안 했는데 이렇게 힘듭니다.
there could be fewer U.S. forces here at some point soon.
Okay, Jennifer Glass, live for us in Kabul. Thanks very much. And you're watching Connect the World. Time is running out for Democratic candidates to garner support in New Hampshire. How the candidates stack up ahead of the primary. That's next. Plus, stars are gearing up for the Oscars, but critics are pointing to its lack of diversity. We'll speak to the creator of Oscars So White a bit later.
Transforming business, transforming communities.
11분밖에 안 지났죠.
National projects.
30분을 꽉 채우면은 4세트 하고도 윗몸 일으키기까지 할 수 있을 것 같아요. 그러니까 윗몸 일으키 아니죠. 복근 운동까지 할 수 있을 것 같아요.
Vital signs. From a
30분만 한다고
mountain kingdom
치면
where wealth is measured in happiness, a new focus on health. The doctor leading the charge is also Bhutan's new leader.
I was a surgeon, I'm still a surgeon, and I govern this country with surgical precision.
Vital signs, Thursday on CNN.
세 번째 세트 하겠습니다.
Vacation or pleasure.
When we have to travel for work, we should use that to discover the world.
It's a growing trend, and Dubai is leading the way, making business travel feel less like work and more like a vacation.
There's always time for pleasure here in this great city.
From a free evening to an extended stay,
This is what I love in Dubai.
this city offers a new hybrid of travel. Dubai Downtime, Saturday on CNN.
I'm Wolf Blitzer. This is CNN.
Okay, we are just 2 days away from this year's first U.S. presidential
솔직히
primary.
팔굽혀펴기는
And
부담이 안
the
됩니다.
chaos and confusion of
더 할 수 있을 것
last
같은데
week's
지금
Iowa caucuses,
스쿼트가 문제네 지금.
Democrats are
와,
hoping the New Hampshire primary will provide more clarity.
너무 무서워, 두려워.
Thousands of people
숨을
attended the
못할 것 같아.
Democratic Party gala Saturday night heard last-minute appeals from the candidates. And although there were many calls for party unity, it got rowdy at times. Pete Buttigieg was
자, 세 번째
jeered by
세트
some
스쿼트
supporters
하겠습니다.
of Bernie Sanders. Buttigieg supporters
더워.
responded by chanting their candidate's name. A new CNN tracking poll conducted by the University of New Hampshire shows Bernie Sanders holding a narrow lead with support from 28% of the likely Democratic voters. It shows Pete Buttigieg coming in second with 21%. They're followed by Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. The poll was conducted Wednesday through Saturday. Bernie Sanders was a guest on CNN's State of the Union. He renewed his criticism of rival candidates who've accepted big-ticket contributions from billionaires, specifically Pete Buttigieg.
I'm running against a candidate
Pete Buttigieg, among others, who has raised contributions from more than 40 billionaires, including the CEOs of some of the largest drug companies in America. So we are independent of our revolution. All these other groups,
보폭을 좀 줄이니까는
So my message
잘 되네요. 제가 좀 너무 어중간하게 넓힌 상태로 했던 것 같아요.
Let's do it today.
3세트 다 했죠.
Responded just moments later on the same program.
마지막 4세트 남았습니다.
Accept a contribution from him. Look, this is about making sure we bring everybody into the fight at a moment when
땀이
we're going to be
엄청나요.
going up against Donald Trump, who, with his allies, are raising. I think the other day they raised $25 million in one day. This is the fight of our lives. I'm not a fan of the current campaign finance system, but I'm also insistent that we've got to go into this with all of the support we can get. And by the way, my campaign is where it is because hundreds of thousands
오늘은
of
좀
individuals,
하체를
no corporate PACs,
최대한 빡세게 한 다음에
have contributed.
내일 아침에 제가 운동할 거거든요. 10시? 10시쯤에 운동을 할 건데 9시, 10시쯤에 운동을 할 건데 그때 저쪽 턱걸이 최대한 하는 걸로 할게요. 오늘 하체를 했으니까. 그다음에 또 한 이틀 정도 스트레칭이랑 팔굽혀펴기를 최대한
Democratic
하고요.
presidential candidates Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg both appearing on CNN's
16분밖에 안 지났는데?
Okay, a lot of news to
앞전에
break
말을
down.
너무 많이 했나?
Let's do it all with a friend of the show, Julian
네 번째
Zellweger.
마지막
He's a
세트입니다.
professor of history and public affairs at Princeton University, and he joins us from right here in New York City. Thanks for getting up on a Sunday. Good morning.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
So after seeing what happened in New Hampshire, who do you think has, or in Iowa actually, who has the most momentum as we go into the New Hampshire primary, which is happening on Tuesday?
No, I think it's the same as going into Iowa. It was clear that Senator Sanders has a lot of grassroots enthusiasm and has built a pretty formidable apparatus for these two contests. And at the same time, Mayor Pete Buttigieg took advantage of this gap when many senators were back in Washington, and his appearances are resonating. And as Biden's campaign is a little bit fragile, I think Buttigieg is really capitalizing on that.
Let's go back to Sanders for a minute. How concerned do you think moderate Democrats are with Sanders' sort of resurgence here?
I think they're as concerned as Sanders supporters are enthused. They're worried about, is he a viable candidate? Can he do well against President Trump? But with each victory like this, I think what the Sanders team is hoping for, they demonstrate that they, in fact, can build a coalition, and you start to see that through the caucuses and primaries.
What about giving support to sort of this this newfound face Buttigieg? Why, where do you think the Democratic Party stands with him?
Well, there the concern is he's inexperienced and he hasn't been tested really in the national spotlight. So unlike Sanders, we don't know what this really looks like when all the scrutiny is on him and when he's facing incoming political fire. But I think there is a thirst for a candidate also who might be that coalition builder. And he's very smart. He's very good in terms of responding to criticism and turning it against his opponents. And I think, at least in Iowa and going into New Hampshire, he's on pretty sound footing.
Okay, meantime, we see former Vice President Joe Biden. He is struggling here. During a campaign stop earlier this year, Joe Biden touted the need for Democratic unity.
Yeah, I mean, this is, he has been both the person claiming to be most electable and claiming to be the candidate who could most unify the field. And until now, the polls have been very good, despite all the ups and downs of the debates. He has remained the front runner, but now the voting begins. And this is where Biden historically has not done well. We've seen campaigns of his collapse. And I think a lot of Democrats are worried about what they're seeing. The numbers in Iowa were not good. At least the early polling or the polling we're seeing right now in New Hampshire that you just showed, he doesn't look like a front runner. And so I think if he doesn't do something if he doesn't perform well in New Hampshire, a lot of fundraisers and a lot of organizers are going to be deflated about his candidacy.
Okay, let's listen to what Biden did say when he was calling for that unity.
You will never hear me speak ill of another Democratic candidate. And there's a simple reason for that. We have to be in a position, whomever the nominee is, to be able to win.
Oh, what a difference
Yeah,
several months makes, because now
to
Biden
win.
and other candidates are taking pot shots at
승리할
each
거라고
other.
합니다.
I mean, is all this fighting
아,
going to
힘들어.
hurt the Democrats? in
자,
the
스쿼트
general
마지막
election?
4세트.
No, not necessarily. I always think it's better for Democrats to do this now, or for Republicans to get everything out now, to test each candidate, to in some ways throw all the dirt out now rather than waiting for whoever the nominee is and waiting for the general election. Because this is all coming and the attacks are coming. So part of what primaries and caucuses are, they are testing candidates in the political playing field. They're not just ads.
One more quick question for you. I want to know how important New Hampshire is when it comes to picking the eventual nominee.
Very important. To lose Iowa and New Hampshire would be very difficult for anyone to come back from that. That's what Biden understands. Another victory by Sanders and Buttigieg would really solidify their front-runner status. And New Hampshire is important. It's broader than Iowa, and coming on top of Iowa, combined package, it can be a pretty formidable moment for a campaign.
Julian Zelzer, it's been great talking with you. I can't wait to see what happens on Tuesday.
Thank you.
21분.
And we are just learning
다
about
했다.
plans to ask for less money than it sought in previous years for a border wall in its proposed spending plan. A White House official tells us the administration will seek $2 billion versus the $5 billion it asked for last year and did not get. The border wall, as you know, has been a key promise of the Trump presidency. When we come back, evacuees from China face quarantine in their home countries. Ahead, why Russia is sending their potential carriers to a sort of virus gulag in Siberia.
더워. 시간이 좀 남았으니까 복근 운동 조금 하겠습니다.
Unlocking the mysteries behind the continents you thought you knew.
더워.
A talented team of South African singers capture the world's attention. It was magic. Inside Africa, Tuesday on CNN, in association with Zenith Bank.
Today we live in an unpredictable environment and news races around the world at breakneck speed.
I didn't know what his intention was. I knew it could be obstruction of justice.
My show brings you the latest news and top news makers.
Are you playing with fire?
And we also dive below the headlines to explore vital issues impacting our lives.
It's about right and wrong.
You have to stand up for what you believe in.
We need to realize that our future is at risk and we need to take action.
Was that kind of mortifying or did you enjoy? I mean, you were great.
It's crucial we make sense of what's happening.
Do you regret that? Do you think there should be nuclear power or more commitment to a clean environment?
New Zealand had its experience and changed its laws. To be honest with you, I do not understand the United States.
Does love have a chance of winning?
I always believe that.
And fully understand what's at stake.
Amanpour, only on CNN.
숨 조금만 고르고 한 번 더 할게요. 와 더워. 와 진짜 오랜만에 이렇게 땀 흘려서 운동하는 것 같아요. 땀 안 나는 것 같죠? 지금 땀 많이 났습니다.
Returning to our top story this hour, China's National Health Commission has given the Wuhan coronavirus a temporary name, the novel coronavirus pneumonia, or NCP. The outbreak has killed more than 800 people and infected over 37,000, the vast majority in mainland China. Outside mainland China, there have been nearly 370 cases in 27 countries. If you look at the number of cases of the coronavirus in China compared to the previous day, you can see that the growth rate is steadily slowing down. But the World Health Organization says this doesn't mean the outbreak has been contained.
The last 2 days, there have been fewer reported new infections in China, which is good news, but at the same time, we caution against reading too much into that. The numbers could go up again. As you know, epi curves can zigzag.
My next guest is one of the United States' top infectious disease doctors and a member of President Trump's coronavirus task force. Dr. Anthony Fauci joins us live now from Washington. Thanks so much for your time today.
Good to be with you.
You know, as we heard, we are seeing a slow in the growth of the number of cases, but the World Health Organization is saying it's far from over. But what do you think? Is the slowdown a sign of possible containment here? Have we maybe reached the peak of this outbreak?
You know, that's possible, but I agree totally with the Director General, Dr. Tedros of the WHO. You've really got to be careful with these epidemiology curves because they can wiggle up and down a bit. I wouldn't put much stock in that. Obviously, I'd like to see the next few days continuing to come down, but right now I think it would be a stretch for us to say we've turned the corner on this. We really, really still do have a very serious problem that we don't know where it's going.
And you sit on President Trump's coronavirus task force. How concerned is the administration about this virus possibly, you know, it's come here in different states here in the United States, but it's spreading here in the United States. How much concern can you tell is coming from the administration?
Well, it isn't a question of concern, it's a question of preparedness. We're taking this very seriously, and we're taking it in the manner that we want to be prepared for the worst possible scenario. Right now, the risk to the American public is low, but that could change. So we are assuming that we would have to deal with the worst possible scenario, even though that might not occur. And right now, the risk for the American public is relatively low.
You had announced the development of a new vaccine to fight the coronavirus. I think you made this announcement last week. Talk to me about how it's progressing and how soon it could be available to people.
Yeah, I know people can get confused about a vaccine that's developed and then when it would be actually available to deploy widely. We have a vaccine that's in the
28분,
process
29분
now
넘어가고
being
있네요.
developed. We're going to get the first phase 1 trial to see if it's safe in about 2.5 months. That's the fastest that it's ever been done. But then it'll take another 3 months to see if it's safe. And then when you get 6 months out, you have to prove that it works. And that would take another several months. So in reality, having a vaccine available for people is going to be well over a year. So the solution to this problem this year is not a vaccine. The solution is good public health measures.
Is there a way for the medical community to get ahead of viruses and to be, you know, more proactive than reactive? Or is it always this way where there's the reaction?
Well, you know, we're proactive in many ways, but occasionally when you get an absolutely brand new infection like this new coronavirus that essentially explodes out into a particular region, in this case China, it's very difficult to be totally prepared. The preparedness now in 2020 is infinitely better
만약에
than
20개
it was 5
하면은
and 10
그냥
years
100개 하는
ago.
거예요.
But even in that context, it's still very difficult to stay ahead of a brand new infection.
Now, the World Health Organization says it's going to be sending an international team to investigate the outbreak in Wuhan, expected to arrive Monday or Tuesday. Do you know if American experts are going to be part of that group?
Well, we've submitted a list of names of 13 people that we would suggest would be part of that. We want very much to be part of it in the NIH and CDC, particularly our CDC, who's had good relationships over the years with the China CDC. So it would be really favorable, I believe, if American scientists can be part of that WHO group that's going to be going to China.
Yeah, I mean, the United States is still waiting on an invitation from the Chinese government to send experts to help with the outbreak. What assistance could Americans provide?
Well, first of all, we are providing assistance. As you know, there have been hundreds of millions of dollars of non-government organizations, philanthropic organizations. The United States government officially is giving $100 million. And we have scientists who